Special guest on tonight's show, and I'm sure many bowlers my age and under will certainly recognize the face and the name of Chief Halftown. Chief, welcome to the bowling show.
It's a great pleasure to be here, Gary, and I want you to know that it gives me an opportunity to say hello to all of my friends in the Newcastle County area, and I do want to say a special hello to the deaf community, because I'm very much involved in the deaf, and of course I want to give them the sign, which means love. And I think in the bowling business, this is one sport where deaf people can be on an equal basis, because it's just a matter of rhythm and concentration to be a good bowler. And I think the bowling industry deserves a great amount of credit for taking an interest in the deaf community.
How long have you been involved in junior bowling, Chief?
I've been involved with junior bowling for approximately 25 years. In the beginning, as a professional bowler for the Brunswick Bowling Company, I would give exhibitions all around the East Coast. And I would always wear fancy Indian regalia. And many times there'd be a great abundance of kids come to see me just because I'm an Indian. And one night I had a very big crowd, and I was thinking to myself, I'm the only one having a good time. Look at those kids that have just come in here to watch me. So I told my bosses at the time that maybe I could get involved with children, and instead of myself doing all the bowling, to teach them. So in 1957, I had my first junior bowling clinic in Manchester, Connecticut. 350 kids showed up, and it was my very first time out, but I kept it very simple. I told them the proper fingers to go into the holes of the ball. I told them how to stand with the ball and to take the 4 steps. And from that day to this time now, I've had a great amount of success in just presenting the fundamentals to kids. In my experience, young people learn very easily. Just yesterday here at Blue Hen Lanes, I had a bunch of kids for the very first time that ever threw a ball. Not one of them complained that they couldn't do it. They said this was too heavy or that was wrong. They just followed instructions, and they had a wonderful time. And that's the fun of teaching youngsters. You get very little negative responses. They all want to try a new sport because they see it on television. And I think that bowling offers to many children an opportunity to participate as a team member. For example, a young lad is not really big enough or strong enough to play football or basketball or the heavier sports. But when it comes to bowling, it just requires to be able to take 4 steps and swing the ball in rhythm. And the concentration comes with just repetition. So many times a young lad or a lightweight person, boy and girl, discover they have all the necessary tools to be a good bowler. And I think if you watch the professional tour on Saturdays, you very seldom see a fellow my size on there. They're always lightweights. Pete Weber, I don't think weighs 120 pounds. So I think this offers to certain kinds of young people an option to become a member of a sport.
How many bowling clubs are there across the country that you're a part of?
Well, starting with Manchester, Connecticut, which was number 1, there at the latest count, there are Chief Halftown junior bowling clubs in 250 cities, which include 7 countries in Europe, all across Canada. And spring of this year, I was in Lima, Peru, Monterrey, Mexico, and Panama City. And it's the same, no matter where you go, children are just the same. They have the same desires, and they want to have fun. But for me, to be a goodwill ambassador for the bowling industry and the Brunswick Company, if I had to do it over again, this is what I wanted to do, and this is what I like to do, and I intend to do it for another 50 years.
You still have your TV show on, is that correct?
Yes, I'm on Saturday morning, Channel 6 at 7 o'clock. That show today is in its 32nd year, and I have kids who sing and dance and perform. And another thing, see, being involved with children Myself, I was a very active young boy. I was in every sport. I was a singer. And I really had the opportunity to have fun. And as I got older and I saw where I could do something about it for other kids, I've tried to keep myself in the world of children. Now, Saturday morning, I have kids who spend hours taking a piano lesson, a singing lesson, a dancing lesson. But there aren't any places for them to perform. Fortunately, I have a show that gives them an outlet. And I think that's also a needed thing, and that's why I do that.
Have you noticed any difference in the children today than when you first started working with junior bowlers?
Well, that's been asked a number of times. And I would have to say, fundamentally, the children are the same when it comes to the bowling. I think in the last 5 and 10 years, I think that you're going to go into now a little heavier area. Many children today have single parents, and sometimes it's hard to see a child come in here all by himself and be picked up. And many times the parents will just drop them off and they won't come in. I think when I first started, and I'd run a clinic, the back would be filled with parents watching the children, watching me, and sort of enjoying it. But you see, we're living in a different time now. Everybody's busy. They all seem to be rushing around. And of course, it must be necessary. They got to make a living. So to answer your question, the children aren't the same. I think that the parents may have changed a little bit.
Parents have changed. That's a very good answer, Chief. We thank you for being on the Bowlers Gazette, and we hope to talk to you again the next time you're down in the Wilmington area. Do you have any idea when you'll be down here again?
Well, I usually come this way about once a year.
We hope to see you then on next year on the Junior Bowlers Gazette.